Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now on the 4th of October 2023. So I've had a bit of a day off today and went down to the coast and had an interesting time, a very interesting time at none other than the home abode of Richard Vobes. And I was talking to him a few weeks ago at the Reigate Superstand, which we both attended. He did a talk there, I filmed it, and we had a chat afterwards. And he invited me down to his studio for basically an interview. This is me interviewing him. And I've just come away, spent 5 hours in his company one way or another. Got there about 11 o'clock. Spent the first hour just having a coffee and a chat with him and Julia, who, if you watch his channel, you'll know who she is. And we then went and did a bit of a tour around his house. He was showing me various things around his house and I was following with my camera. That bit of the day will be following straight on from this when I finish this intro, so carry on to see that. And then I did a big interview with him. I think it must have gone on for about an hour and a half, maybe just slightly less than that. Really, really in depth. And I was asking him lots of stuff, including what might be termed as hard questions. It wasn't all sycophantic stuff or anything like that. I was asking him some questions that probably some viewers here at least would want to ask him. I won't give away too much more. You'll have to watch the main interview for that. And then we went, after the interview was done, we went out to the seafront, or pretty much the seafront, for some sausages and chips at this really nice chippy in Worthing there. Really, really nice. And then we went back and he then interviewed me on his show. So I was sitting at that sort of famous desk of his with the famous backdrop and getting interviewed by Richard. So all very interesting stuff. So what I'm going to do is just let this carry on and you'll see basically him in his own sort of setting, as it were. He was so generous with his time. It was really, really great. And basically what I'll do in the next day or two is I'll get the main interview up as well. The one that goes on for the best part of an hour and a half. So I think you'll be very interested. And I'm going to call the interview The Real Richard Vobes. So this is going to be part one basically. And then part two will be the big interview. The Real Richard Vobes, and I think I really, really did capture him at his, well, most real, really. I think he's pretty much, having spent 5 hours in his company, what you see with him is pretty much what you get. There's many people who think otherwise, that he's got certain agendas he's working to, but that's certainly not my perception, having spent a good amount of time with him and, spending a lot of time talking to him on the interviews. So anyway, going to let you carry on watching. You can see Richard as we go around, a little bit of a tour of his house, and back soon with the big interview. Tim from Fair Play Now, thanks for watching. Right, so I'm outside the front door here and I'm wondering who lives inside. Let's find out, shall we?
Sorry, no street hawkers.
Oh dear.
Tim.
Look who we've got here, Mr. Vobes.
Do come on in.
Thank you very much.
Lovely to see you.
And you too.
And your wonderful audience. Come into my front room.
Thank you very much. Yes, so
my humble little room. This is where I do all my monologues, just sitting here.
right, so this is a very familiar scene to.
There we are. I usually put the light on. It
many
just
of us.
makes it look a bit more homely.
That's great. So it's a lovely homely room with the books in the background.
Oh
and,
yeah, well, have a look. You see over here, I have permanently in my front room, I have my lights and my tripod, so I can just light that area. But you're right, that I love books, and everywhere all around you'll find books in my house. People are very generous, of course. They send me lots of books, but my books are mostly history, about England, a bit of geology, some crime books, sort of anything about the sort of Englishness, really, is what it's about. And I'm got to show you this.
Ah, yes, please.
This came today. One of my viewers, Jonathan, sent me this. He's up in Manchester. Breadboard, chopping board. He made it himself from scratch, the whole thing, and inlaid the old logo that I used to use. Well, I still use it, I suppose, from my previous work. And that's, yeah. Can you see the likeness?
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic.
It's amazing,
that, isn't it?
Yeah. So I said, well, I'll flash it up in a video. Well, I've done that. Yours is the first video. But people are so kind. Well, let me take you into the kitchen, because you might find that interesting. Lots of books.
Yeah, lots and lots of books. Lots of bookshelves. Yes.
More books down here. I don't know what to do with them. I haven't got enough space, really. And then in the kitchen, which probably needs a bit of a tidy up, I've got my beloved Essie, which is the workhorse of the house. This burn logs. Well, until the government stopped me, of course. I burn logs, so I cook on this. Obviously not my washing, but I cook on this. It heats the water up the pipes, heats the room, and in the winter particularly, which is why clothes are here, is I hang them in the kitchen and they dry from the heat of the Essie, which is a wood burning stove, and I buy all my logs locally. So I put the money into the economy. So I don't use any electricity or gas for water, cooking and heating. It's fantastic. I love that, being independent. And then you'll notice around here, I mean, it's all a bit oldie-woldy really, but deliberately so. I like my old Belfast sink, these somewhat quirky taps. I made this. I'm not a brilliant woodsman, but I knocked it together. And yeah, I just love that old-fashioned, not your commercial flat-pack installed kitchen. So
it's lovely. It's got a very sort of cottagey vibe in here, isn't it?
If you could remove the town and put this in the country, I would be very happy. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's kind of the plan that I want to do. Obviously, leave the house here, but this country ethos.
Yeah. I see you've even got the old Bush 1960s, is it, radio there in the
corner? Exactly, yes. I mean, it is a replica. It's a sort of more modern one. But I no longer listen to it, because I used to listen to Radio 4, but that's the BBC, and my God, they're so biased now. So it sits there looking lovely, but it doesn't really get used, sadly.
Yeah. So I believe you've got a wood pile out in the.
Oh yes, come and have a look at it.
So
So my garden is well, you'll see. It's basically wood everywhere. It's like my books.
Oops.
Yeah, mind the step. In order to feed the Essie, stacked wood everywhere. I get it delivered. Comes in these bags. There's 3 of those. Stocking up for the winter. There's logs down there. That's a junk hold at the moment. I used to have a little podcasting studio in there at one point, but it needs to come down, so I need to get that down. More wood.
Will all this wood last you the winter, or?
No. I've got another load of wood coming at the end of November, but that will probably last me up to about April, I think.
Ah, right.
So
two loads up to April from October.
That'll be like 4. Well, that's one load there, I suppose. 3 bags, and then another bag, so 6 bags. It depends how cold it gets and how much I burn. But at the moment, I burn it all year round. And some people say, oh, you know, it's bad for the environment and all of that. And of course, anybody who's got land, who grows things, knows that ash is very good for growing stuff. And actually the particulates that come out of the smoke, and when they land, they're actually fertilizing the ground. So it's not all bad. People seem to think it is. But there you are, you know.
I didn't know that. So.
I feel I'm doing good.
Fantastic.
At least I'm trying anyway.
Right, well, lead on. We'll sort of
come round.
See where else we end up.
So yes, we're growing some stuff, but this is north facing, and there's barely any light, and I need to sort of revamp that. But if we got into the countryside, we would grow a hell of a lot more. I will take you now to the studio, where I do most of my interviews.
Okay, looking forward to this.
Yes, don't trip on the stairs, because there's no banister here. More books. Right. Mind your head on the tin bath.
That's very shocking.
Not everyone's got a tin bath, but we made that into a go-kart and sent it down a hill in my previous video as the Bald Explorer. And then here, this is the studio.
Wow, yeah, that's the familiar backdrop with the plane and the Vobes show, Bald Explorer, the famous tape reels there, and this is where all the magic happens.
It's certainly, well, yeah, and I have a big telly there that's only used as a monitor, and when that camera's switched on, I can monitor all my stuff there, access the internet over here, or there, depending on where I put the screen, and yeah, and a way I can conduct my interviews quite comfortably. I've even got on the floor down here, because I'm aware of the electricity, a earthing mat. It needs a brush down here, but an earthing mat. So sometimes I'll sit there with my shoes and socks off, earthing myself as I talk to the people. So
Brilliant.
I'm not in shorts or, you know, in a dress or anything like that, but I might have my shoes and socks off.
So what a lovely setup. I should aspire to this myself.
Yeah, it's taken a while to sort of get used to, but actually what I would love to do is to put some battening on the ceiling, so all the lights and the stands, because you'll know what it's like with blimmin' stands, they take up a lot of space. So if all the lights could be up there and on magic arms or something, and angled, it would just free up so much more.
Okay.
So
fantastic. I'll just go around the other side just to kind of get the backdrop.
Get the backdrop
a little bit. I can only go round to about here, can't I? So this is a slightly wider shot than we normally see of you, Richard.
So yes, I'll be looking into this camera here, which is just down there. Big old camera I used to use on the corporates when I used to do corporate corporate videos, and I'll be talking to my guests on this microphone. And if Julia or another guest is in here, I often use a second microphone, and I can monitor it on these little tiny monitors, mixing desk and stuff. And I can say, hello, thank you for joining me for another of my wonderful interviews.
Your sound on your videos, well, and the picture quality is fantastic, but the sound's really good. It's something I struggle with, being a bit more amateur, but...
But audio is, I mean, sometimes it can be hit and miss, it really can. But I do try to get it. The trouble with a big room like this, I don't have very much soft furnishings in, which would dampen the echo. So I know there's a bit of echo in my studio. Ideally, I need some sort of soundproofing on some of these big flat surfaces, because the sound bounces about. But you know, I'm not too worried. Most people are watching on their phones or laptops and things, so the sound is never brilliant quality from their point of view anyway. But we do try. Yeah,
I really like the backdrop that appears in your videos. It's obviously taken you quite some while to gather that kit up and put it all together with a lot of thought by the looks of it.
Somebody the other day, a chap called Mr. Mozart, very lovely man. I didn't have the power lead for my old Revox A77. This beautiful piece of kit, which dates back, I don't know, to the 1970s probably. And he gave me this power lead and he said, plug it in, see if it works, because it would be great to have in the background this just rolling round, you know. And I said, yeah, so I did, and it did work, but he said, you might find the little fuse at the back there will blow because it's so old. And it worked for about 10 minutes, and then it did blow. So I've just got to, he said, oh, you can get those for a couple of quid. So I'm going to get those. So soon, in the background, hopefully, I'll see like this roller tape going around, which would just add a little extra.
It will. It'd be
something.
Brilliant. Yes. So I like this. These are old valves, are they?
Well, they're new. It's new. Somebody made that for me,
Right.
sent it in, and it's supposed to tell the time. And it has got, if you're near a window, it's got a little thing that will collect the satellite clock, apparently. But because it's not, I don't know if that's anywhere near the right time, 9:52. I think that's probably an hour out.
No, probably about midday now. Aren't
Yeah,
they? Yeah.
it's getting on a bit. So, but if it was near the window, it would connect to the satellite and just get the signal from a universal clock, from what I understand. But yeah, and I would love to get some little lights inside these old wirelesses, so it looks like the valves are heating up. So there's more work to do. There's never enough time.
No, I know the feeling, but I think this is a setup, a backdrop that many people would love as is. So
Yeah.
I've got to congratulate you on that. And there's the, I'm pretty sure that's a Spitfire, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
the-
It's made of tin. And the thing, I'll tell you a little story here. We had it was easier when we first put it up just to hang it from the back end, but it was obviously facing downwards. And then we had comments saying, oh, it's an upside down cross and it's satanic and all of this. And Julia had helped me set this up. She just said, that's ridiculous. You know, it was just so much easier to put a piece of string on a nail upside down. So we then tried hanging it from the propeller to get it the right way around. It was bending. And Julia, I don't know how she's done it. She's done it around the wheels. So it's funny how people see things that we hadn't even occurred to us, as if it was a secret message. But no, it's just a Spitfire that it was just the quickest way of putting it up. But we turned it round, so we didn't upset. Oh, excuse me. Hello. Oh yes. It's engine room. Yes, thank you. Lovely old clock.
Lovely, yeah.
Yeah. All good fun.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, well, unless there's any other places you want to show us.
Well, it's the bedroom and the bathroom, but you probably don't want to see that. And I probably need to clean it up, to be honest.
Okay, well, what a fantastic little tour of
My pleasure.
the Vobes home. Thank you very much for the invitation.
You're very welcome.